We don't learn about money in school, which is one of the main reasons why most people are poor. Personal finance is not something that is taught in schools, so we will have to learn it from our parents. Many parents think that they shouldn't take their kids out of their childhood to teach them about the world and money, but there are also parents who don't know how to teach their kids because they don't understand it themselves. Even though the saying, money doesn't grow on trees, is usually true, it doesn't teach you how to get money and keep it over time. Most people don't have clearly defined financial goals, which are the basis for figuring out how to make money and how to put it to work for you. Think about how easy it is to say that your goal for this year is to save $5,000. But how would you actually do it? Will you make more money or cut back on spending? You don't have to live cheaply to save money. Just think about what you want to buy before you buy it, and don't buy something just because it's on sale. One of the biggest differences between having no money and having a lot of money is definitely being able to control your feelings when making purchases. Many people don't have emergency plans, and a survey by the Federal Reserve Board shows that 1/3 of US households don't have $400 saved. This means that if they had an emergency, they would have to borrow money or sell something. If you have an emergency and need to take your car, a pet, or yourself to the doctor, you might need to borrow money from a credit card with a high interest rate. When you first start to rack up credit card debt and find it hard to pay it back, it will be hard to break out of the cycle. A US bank study found that only 41% of Americans really stick to a budget. This means that many people don't have one. Many people think that being frugal means living on a tight budget, but this is not always the case. To put it simply, it all depends on how well you stick to your budget. How do you keep track of your spending without a budget and make sure you have money left over each month to invest? Since many people only buy what they really need, it is hard to keep track of their spending and find expensive items that they don't really need but could do without. People who buy on demand also don't buy large amounts of everyday items, which can save them a lot of money. Many people don't think about the future when they talk about money, they'd rather use the money they have now. They can't move up in life or make their money work for them, so they have to live from paycheck to paycheck. They only think about the short term and don't want to give up their current way of life, because they will later see what they could have bought with the extra money each month and feel like they missed out on life. People often have expensive habits, and they think they can afford them because they look at their salary as a source of cash flow. Some bad habits that cost a lot of money are smoking, drinking, getting a coffee on the way to work, and eating out a lot. Do you have any personal examples of them? Many of the same people are also a brand slaves, which means they would rather buy an expensive brand than one that costs less. Some of these people also like a good deal and feel like they have to buy something even if they don't need it. These same people will also say that they don't have any extra money to invest. If they learn to think about all of their expensive habits and decide which one is most important to them, they might be able to cut back on some of them and use the extra money to invest. They have a lot of bad debt, which is costing them interest and keeping them in a cycle from which it is hard to break free. Because of this, they will always feel like they are running uphill, and for some, it might be easier to give up. People usually get into credit card debt when they borrow money to buy assets that lose value or when they buy things they can't afford. Goods that lose their value over time include a car, the latest computer, phone, or clothing. Einstein said that compound interest was the eighth wonder of the world for the same reason. Those who understand it earn it, and those who don't pay it. Which is one of the most important reasons why some people get rich and others get poor. Credit card debt is a good example of getting stuck in a loop of bad interest rates that keep adding up. Many individuals also spend money on things they cannot afford in an effort to keep up with the Joneses. Will Rogers said in 1930, "Too many people spend money they haven't earned on things they don't want to show off to people they don't like." If you don't care what other people think of you, things will be much easier for you. Because of this, you'll only have to worry about your own interests, which will save you a lot of time and money. Have you ever thought about whether you have a big impact on other people's lives or whether they don't even notice what you buy or how you look? Most people don't remember what other people looked like or what they were wearing that day, but they will remember if you smiled or not. So just smile. It's also a lot cheaper. Their socializing is expensive. If you want to start living on a budget, it would be best to let your friends know what to expect so they know you might not be able to do the same things for the same amount as before. Having fun with your friends could cost you money if they want to keep spending the same amount. Here, you'll have to decide if you can save money elsewhere or how much it means to you to always be with them. Most people don't pay themselves first, so they spend their money before they think about what they could save. This often means that there is no money left over to save. When we tell you that you shouldn't pay yourself first, it's because your rent or mortgage will take up a big chunk of each paycheck. After that, you'll need to pay for your car and living expenses, which you'll do by giving money to other businesses. If you set aside a certain amount for yourself each month before figuring out what you can buy with the rest, you will always have money left over to save. If you're used to living from paycheck to paycheck, it will take you a while to get used to this, but once you do, you'll quickly learn what you need and what you just want. The most important thing is that you get used to it and make it a part of your routine, which you can then slowly build on. At first, it doesn't have to be a big amount. Most of the time, people go broke because they make bad decisions, even if they don't know it. They will have to be able to see when they've made a bad decision and fix it. You might also think about whether you'd need to borrow money to pay for a $400 medical emergency. Because if you do, you might be about to get stuck in a cycle that is hard to break out of. The good news is that no one has to live in poverty because of this. Everyone has the power to change their situation and make their own decisions about their finances. Work and learning to make better choices are all you need to turn your finances around and set yourself up for a successful life. We're here to help people with personal finance, so if you are interested in more topics like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel. That way you will be notified when we release a new video which might help you on your journey.